on again.
What up, guys? How are y'all? Hello, 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 hello. Oh, for my fellow Southerners, Steve's making fun of me because I'm over here eating some boiled peanuts.
I'm not making
So
fun of you.
he
I'm
just
just
said they're gross. He said they're gross.
yeah, just like keep them down there.
But there was a produce stand set up right next to me at Maymay's all weekend. So this is like my third bag. Um, so when we were closing up, I was like, "Hey, you got any peanuts left?" He's like, "Yep." So I stocked up. So I've got them in the refrigerator now. So Jim, Jim, come on now. Boiled peanuts ain't nasty. These things
I
is
mean,
good.
right now that's 2-1.
All right, where's barbecue bullets? I know they eating them. I know they eating these up around where he's from. I gotta be some of my people in here.
Yes, well, I'm not going to say there aren't disgusting foods up here, uh, but
Oh, you've done
not
told me
that.
about that one thing that y'all make out of soap.
Some people make. Don't be lumping me with them. And that's called lutefisk.
Yeah. Hey, Jack. I bet Jack eats boiled peanuts, don't you, Jack? He one of my neighbors down here. He don't think they nasty. But yeah, boiled peanuts down here, man. I mean, that is the thing. No,
Yeah. Well,
boiled peanuts, guys. Come on now.
I I'll tell you, been down to Georgia in your area a number of times, and I'm always willing to try things out. I tried a lot of grits. I tried boiled peanuts. I tried all of that, a lot of things, and some of them were okay. Did not care at all for the boiled peanuts. I just don't understand it.
Oh well. Ah, yeah. You'll get there one day. I'll bring you some when I make my trip up there. I'll bring you some.
No, no, I don't think so.
It's a good snack. It's good protein food. All
I could,
right. Well, how's
I could
everybody?
think
How's everybody
better
doing?
proteins.
Well, I mean, they're better when they're hot, but I didn't have that option today.
Yeah, that's like people saying, well, it's what like when you say that I didn't care too much for the grits, and they go, well, what'd you have on it? I'm like, well, then I'm just enjoying what I had on it.
I haven't heard about I don't know about the AE85. I don't know what that is. I haven't heard about that one. Which I've been so busy, I haven't really been doing a whole lot of research lately.
Um, I thought maybe I saw something from them that was double extended, like both directions, similar to the sculpt fun machines.
Yeah.
Now I'm questioning. Yeah, that's what it looks like. Is the
You say an 800 by 850 or 850 by 800.
yeah 850 by 800. It's
That's gonna be a big
pretty
machine.
large machine. I
Okay,
I
Southern Oklahoma. I bet you they eat boiled peanuts in Southern Oklahoma.
He's not gonna let it drop. It- I guess my question is, I can understand having some longer in one direction for getting some wider things, but you start extending that working area in both directions, and you
Yeah.
better hope you have I don't know. That's a lot of working area. That's a lot of time. So unless you're dealing with very large objects, I'd rather utilize that space with dual machines to have working, two different projects
Yeah.
that are smaller. But I guess it really depends. I mean, if you're doing a lot of big stuff, then those are some ways to go.
Yeah.
But
See there? Hey, I got a couple of them right there. Prestige. That's my people right there, Oklahoma. He
well,
said it. He said they're good.
Chris knows what's up.
Hey, yeah. I mean I'm not talking about the ones you get in the can, guys. These were boiled right
Hey,
there with
hey,
beside
I
me.
I same thing. I didn't buy them at some corner gas station or anything. As I was at an event. They had a bunch of food trucks. One of the guys was doing boiled peanuts, fresh out of his, you know, I mean, he just strained them out, put them in a bag for me and such, and said, "Here you go." And I was like, oh, "Okay, thank you. I hope." And yeah, no, couldn't finish them.
Mm. Oh
So
well.
it was, about as I mean, maybe he didn't make them right. I don't know. Seems pretty simple. Water, boil, dump in peanuts. There you
Oh
go.
no, it ain't that simple. You
Well,
gotta
it's just
have
in
it.
the name. Boiled
Yeah,
peanuts.
yeah, but there is, believe it or not, there is a method to the madness, and if you don't do it right, they can be yucky.
Yeah,
You
but
have
I
to get them
mean,
out. You have to get them out before they turn to like snails.
you're kind of just making them into lima beans, really. So, I mean,
You want them a little crunchy.
you're soaking in them water. How do they get crunchy?
It's all in the technique. I don't know. I can't make them either, so I don't know.
All right.
But
Well,
that's why I always buy mine.
uh, roasted is the way most nuts should be. So there you be. That makes them crunchy and salty.
Oh, that's another question. I'm just trying to catch up on some snacks, guys.
Uh, so DJS is mentioning Monport Onyx 55-watt CO2. Amazon has it for $2,000 with rotary. Looks like a I'd seen some information on that, but I haven't looked too closely to it. I think just someone, was it last week,
Yeah,
that brought it up?
yeah, it looks like a competitor to
Hmm.
like the X Tool P2 and stuff like that. It looks like it's very similar to those.
But yeah, I mean, if it's, I gotta look this up. Onyx. Yeah, they've got it for $24.99 is the regular price, and they've got a $500 coupon right now. It says only 2 left in stock. That's I can't speak to how well it does anything, but for a desktop 55-watt CO2,
Yeah, that's
that's a
not
pretty
bad.
tempting price.
Not bad if you were in the market.
Mm-hmm. 20 by 12 workspace. So that's pretty average for those. Yeah. Interesting.
Huh. Well, Jim, I guess maybe it's not as common of a food as I thought. Maybe it's just a local thing here.
Dale's having some trouble with jig boards. Cut a couple large ones, and the locking tabs didn't match. I'm guessing your first question will be is checking the calibration of your machine as far as is it cutting squares,
Yep.
and maybe some belts are loose, or a lot of times it's that idler bar, the connector between the two side gantry belts it can have a set screw loose or something that creates things to be out of square, out of rectangular.
Yep.
So
Every situation that I've run into those, it was belt tension or timing. If because I use the same files I sell to you guys, so the files work. But if you have a belt tension issue and it slips just a little bit, it'll cause some issues. And if that timing linkage is off or isn't tight, it'll really mess them up. So I would check that first.
Mark's asking, is a 55-watt CO2 the equivalent of a 30-watt diode, given that you aren't supposed to run them near 100% power? So, no. It's while it is optical power, the wavelengths interact with things a little bit different. So they're not. It's not an apples to apples comparison. And then the whole 100% power thing, it is more geared to imbalanced machines. You get a lot of, if there was a lot of Chinese machines coming out, just throwing a lot of parts into them. And so a lot of times you'd have a tube that might be rated at 21 milliamps of power, and the power supply is running a little bit hot for that. And so it's pushing it up into 25 milliamps. Well, the idea is that if you run it at 80%, you're going to stay under that milliamp rating. The CO2 tubes do have, some degradation to them from a couple factors, and that's, excessive power, which also then creates excessive heat. And if you can keep those in check, if you have it really tuned into that 100% power on your machine is hitting that maximum milliamp rating, which is where they get their, on each tube is going to have a sticker on it that shows when it was manufactured, when it was tested, what its milliamp rating was, and its wattage at that milliamp rating. And that's kind of your maximum where you're supposed to stay at. Does running a little less uh, improve the lifespan of the laser tube? Sure. But if you're having to lower your power and then slow down your machine, you're going to be running your laser longer for the same job. So you may have increased its lifespan by 20%. But if your job is taking 50% more time, are you really winning?
Yeah. Yeah, if you increase
So,
its lifespan by 10%, and then you increase its use time by 20, you're not gaining much.
right. So it really comes down to you got to make sure that your machine is balanced and you don't want to overdrive it from that milliamp rating. And yes, at running it at 100% is going to slightly decrease the lifespan of it. But my problem and argument is that, just as we said, you're also increasing the runtime to get the same amount of work done. So it's mostly important to know what the milliamp rating is, keep it below that, and then you'll be able to run it at a better wattage or at its most efficient wattage. So um, you can get optical laser meters that will read the output power, and that's a kind of a good way to test them. They have some that aren't terribly expensive, but they're not cheap either. They're about $250, and they go up to about 50 watts. And it would be tempting to get one of those to test some of these. Um, and unfortunately, you get above that, and they get really expensive, and that's why with my 60-watt CO2, I've never purchased one of those.
Yeah.
But
Mark, go ahead. I thought you
no,
finished.
I'm just kind of rambling on this topic now. So go ahead.
Mark, thought of one more thing that's pretty common. Make sure when you open the files, do not import. Always open. If you import, Lightburn can resize it, and that can cause an issue. So make sure you use the open function rather than import. And kerf shouldn't be an issue unless you're using like something with just teeny tiny or just crazily big kerf. Because I cut those things with everything from a 20 watt up to a 40 watt. And kerf's not that big of an issue when it comes to stuff like that.
Yeah, no,
The
you
import
actually
thing, the
you
import
actually
thing gets a lot of people.
you want it just loose enough that it will pop into place, but not wiggle around. Because if you have your kerf spot on, you're going to be pushing those things together, and you'll never get them apart.
Yeah, you got to have a rubber hammer to put them together, and then
Yeah,
you just about got to break them to get them apart. You
yeah.
want
So
just enough slack, like Steve said. You want enough slack where they come apart, but not enough to where they're sloppy. So that's the that's the key. My disco mirror. Yeah, I mounted it back there, guys. That's what I made it for. Jim wants to know how your enclosure's coming there, Steve.
well, the so the wood I posted on the Facebook group today was more for the platforms that the new enclosure will sit on. So I picked up some material this morning to build those out, and instead of making one long bench, I'm splitting it into two benches and having them on casters. I put everything on my shop on wheels that I can, just because I know things are going to need to move around. So my idea here is that I'll have some storage on bottom, but on top it'll be big enough to kind of house your typical laser. Um, but then I can put them side by side and be able to maybe run two at one time. Or if I get something bigger, I can put them back to back and then be able to utilize the top surface that way. So I got the first one done. Kind of I had a sketch in my head that wasn't um, detailed enough to account for all the wood I needed. So I need to go back and pick up some more 2x4s to frame out the sides and such. But did get one done, and we'll see about the other. I got some other things going on in the workshop too, so at least this will help me in the interim. But once I get those in place, yeah, new enclosure on the way for the longer, bigger lasers.
Mark, if you're getting oblong circles, then you definitely have a belt tension issue or time and linkage. If you'll go to my channel, what machine is it, by the way? Before I tell you where to look, I didn't think about that. Did he say it was an X2? Or I don't know. We'll find out here in a minute. I probably should know because I think Mark's asked questions before, but I can't remember. But I have a couple of videos on. I got a bunch of videos on assembling the machines, and I've got a few on. Matter of fact, one of my machines, I actually went in and just messed up all the settings where it wouldn't cut squares or circles, either one, and then basically repaired it on camera. So yeah. But I got plenty of videos for adjusting those and assemblies as far as how to get them all set up. And I think Steve's got a couple of them too.
Well, I think I've touched on it in some of my, when I'm assembling or reviewing machines. I probably haven't. I don't know that I've done a dedicated one on it.
Yeah, I
But
did. I had to do a dedicated one because I had that such a common problem with people trying to cut my jigs and couldn't get the teeth to line up, and
yeah,
that was always a problem.
nah.
X tool D. Oh, you're not having any issues. Oh, well, one way to check it is set you a square in your workspace. Like do all four corners of the workspace because sometimes you can have a tension issue in one corner or the other without it being the whole workspace. Set you a square. Just basically set just enough power so that you can see a visible line on your work area. Set it up to about 150 millimeters a second so that it puts a little bit of pressure on those belts, and set it for like 5 passes and see if it stays in the same line every time it makes a lap. If you've got issues with either belt tension or timing, you're gonna have multiple lines either in the corners or the whole thing will move. One of the two. So, matter of fact, I just got through putting the longer back in my enclosure over here, and you can see where I've been doing all my testing. And one of the tests that I do when I put a machine in my enclosure, one of the tests that I do is this little test right here, which basically just makes sure that my belt tension is correct and I don't have overlapping lines or misshapen boxes or whatever. So the question to that is no. I have not. That's what I went over in my video on my mirrors the other day. Everybody keeps saying that there's a way to calibrate it, but I can't find it unless you got to go into like their program files or something to get to it.
I want to say that maybe Tripod's Garage possibly covered that in his video. I know he mentioned it.
He mentioned it, but he never showed how to do it.
Really?
Not that I remember. I mean, I had to go back and rewatch it, but I remember he said that you could adjust it.
Because he said the person reached out to him and said there's a way that you can do it, and he said he was gonna. I don't know. I'd have to go back, but
Semper Duty, all that is, all that design is if you'll go into Lightburn, and you can save this into your art library so that you can just drag and drop it. But just create yourself a circle or a square, and then use the offset tool and have it come in 2 millimeters, 2 millimeters, 2 millimeters, 2 millimeters, and just recreate that line until it gets down to where it's nothing. That's all you got to do. And then just save that as an art file in your art library, and you can drag and drop it over in the workspace. But that's all that is. That's just a circle and a square. And the reason I do a circle and a square is because sometimes a square will actually cut square, but then the circles will still be a little oblong. So I do both of them so that I can just go ahead and check. If you're really, really OCD, you can go in and measure them to make sure that they're the right, dimension. But typically, if you start having issues, you're going to notice that like one side's going to be thinner, maybe even cross over the other lines. The other side will be real wide, and it'll be real sporadic. It won't be uniform all the way down. So, but yeah, it's so far I haven't had a problem with one that passed all my tests. But I do that, especially if they've been hanging on a wall for a little while, and I put them back into service. I killed my algo laser, so I had to had to put the longer back in there. So I got to reach out to Algo. I think my firmware died on me for some reason.
just try to feed it boiled peanuts or something.
No, I think I may have held the button down on it too long because I got to looking at it. And that's how you actually write the firmware. But then I went to their website, downloaded the firmware, tried to flash it, No mosh. It didn't work. So I was in the middle of trying to get a job finished. So I just threw the longer back in there. Yeah, I haven't figured that one out yet. So if I figure it out, I'll do a video and show you guys. But so far, it's not in their software unless there's like a utility you got to download or something.
Yeah, I thought that's what he said was that there's like in their store there's something that you have to go grab.
Now that may be the case.
Their vision, what is it? The whatever that store is that's tied to their stuff.
Yeah, I go back and look at it. I kind of scan through videos or watch them while I'm working sometimes, so I miss stuff. Like I watched this one guy did a review on an Elegoo, and I missed like half of it because I was building stove covers.
I mean, it's not like it was a 58-minute long video.
Hey, I could not shorten that thing anymore. There was no video in there of the machine actually working, and that's why. It's because I was like, wow, this is going to be like 2 hours long. So I just kept it down to the basics.
Oh,
All right, well, boy, it's going to be a quiet night tonight. I'm going to run out of peanuts here in a minute. I've almost ate the whole bag. But, yeah, I had to eat my peanuts before my kids find them because they'll be eat them up. So I grabbed them when I went in to fill my tea glass up a while ago.
well, if you want to store them up here, they'd be safe.
Yeah. Well, one of my kids ain't going to eat them because she's allergic. The other one will.
So you spent a couple days at May's event, right?
Oh, Lord, yeah. They were long days, too. I didn't have my nice cushiony chair. I had my little stool in the portable shack.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was fun, though. Well, met a lot of people. And sold basically all the Christmas ornaments that I had made because I didn't have a chance to really stock up. So most of what I sold was, leftover inventory from last year. But I've got like literally a handful left. That's it. Like a lot of them, people were asking, "Hey, so and so showed me an ornament they got. You got any more of them?" And I'm like, "I'm sorry, I don't." And it was a multi-layered glue up, so I couldn't like just burn it out right there. So yeah, I missed a few sales because I didn't have enough inventory. But with the back issues and stuff, trying to catch up on everything that I had a deadlines on, I just didn't have time to inventory up. Now, I did sell a lot of cutting boards, the bamboo cutting boards,
That's good.
and the dog tags, of course, the little pet like things to go on their collar. Yeah, made a bunch of them. My little chihuahua I set on the corner of my table. My little cutout chihuahua gets them every time.
So was that just so? What was the premise of that event? Was she doing
It's
like a
her,
sale?
it's her open house, but now it's not just her open house. It's like there's a whole bunch of businesses all over town that were having an open house. They had a big, the Arts Council was having a big event yesterday out at our community college at the conference center, where it was basically Christmas crafts. So there's everything from laser engraving to woodworking to art to, I mean, just, drawing, whatever you could think of. Pretty much anything artisan based. And it was kind of a Christmas event. So a lot of the stuff was, in preparation for Christmas, of course. But it was a busy week. It was a busy weekend this weekend in town. But like I said, I spent all day at May's.
Yeah.
So I didn't really get to go around and visit a whole lot. Now, Brandy came and helped me set my stuff up because she has to do all the heavy lifting in the family right now, and so she come help me get everything set up, and then she went and took the kids shopping Friday, and then I think she did a little bit of shopping Saturday as well. So they had fun and got to take advantage of some of the open house stuff that they were having.
Cool.
Yeah,
there was
a question.
There was a makerspace, local makerspace had one of their craft fairs today, but I normally try to make it down to those, but didn't. So I'm not sure how well that went, but they have another one in December I'll probably go to.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't. ET, I don't. I know what you're talking about. Is there's like a grayed out area, and so far I've done tumblers. I didn't think about that. If you had a mug, maybe it might not have enough room. Oh, that's peculiar. I'll have to look into that because I didn't know that if that was like on every engrave or what, but it does have like an area, like a no go area on the screen when you pull it up. Did you just get one of those in, Steve, that you're going to be getting to soon, hopefully?
Yep. Yeah, it showed up. um, I think Friday. Was it late? Either late. Maybe it was late Thursday. All I know is the DHL guy came. I mean, it was dark out, and
Yeah.
but yeah, everything was. Although I did find it had a loose screw. Um, I just saw that today, and it's a weird little pointed set screw that goes on one of the corners of the lid. So you actually had to take a block off so that I could put it back in. So I'm wondering if that was one of the like the inductive sensors that the lid registers off of or something. I don't
That's what
know.
you say. I think it may have been because this got like pins on the corners.
Yeah. So you couldn't screw it back in from the bottom. So there's another block it's on, luckily, that was screwed into the side because I'm like, well, I can't take the glass out. But
Yeah.
other than that, it looks in good shape, and I haven't fired it up yet, but hope to this week really soon and start to playing around with that because definitely looks interesting. Definitely a tank of a machine. So,
Yeah.
but
Oh, there's your Phillips asking you a question there. How much fun is it aligning the mirrors on a black and red laser?
yeah, um, it's a lot of fun in my most sarcastic way. Uh, I mean, you get used to it, you get better at it. Hopefully, once you kind of get them set, as long as you're not moving your laser around, you shouldn't have to really adjust them too much. Um, but yeah, you want to use very minor moves on those adjustment screws. The thing, and I mentioned it a couple weeks ago, I think. There's a reverse tool so that it goes in the lens tube and fires backwards through the mirrors, and it's a red dot laser that helps immensely get everything lined up correctly. As far as how crucial is it, less and less each mirror you get. I mean, but if it's off on the first one, that just gets compounded on the others. So it's important that it hits the same spot near and far on mirror 1 and 2, and on 3 you really want it hitting the middle. And so the more it's off from that, yeah, as you get to your extents of your bed, you're going to start losing power. You might notice it's not engraving, it's not cutting, and that's because it's actually moving on that mirror and realigning that beam through the lens. So, but as you say, if it's working pretty well, um, in engraving and cutting in the area that you're okay with, then I mean that's fine. You just might know that you're not getting 100% out of your laser. So if you're having problems, it's critical to fix it. If it's working for you, roll with it until you find a problem. But I would recommend that tool from American Photonics if you're having a lot of trouble with it. I think it costs about $40 to $50 depending on your laser, and it can take a lot of the frustration out of it.
Yeah, I learned that lesson on the Monport. Tiny movements, test often.
Yeah, it doesn't take much to get it out of alignment, so it needs just really small turns. Yeah, they're
Traffic on
actually
the
on sale
comments
right
here.
now. Instead of $40, they're $32. So see if I can. But you got to know the diameter of your lens tube. So in there, and I'll drop it over my channel if people are curious what that tool is.
Yeah, the event circuit around here for me is winding down. I don't really do a whole lot uh, from this point forward. Maybe it's usually the last event that I do, unless something comes up. I may go and visit and walk around like for the tree lightings and stuff like that, but I don't do a whole lot of vendor stuff once it gets bone chilling cold around here, which is not too cold right now, but it
So
will
you're
be.
talking like it gets into the 40s.
Oh yeah, it gets down in the 40s. I'm done. It's
Oh,
cold, man. It's cold.
I'm just happy when it's above zero and sunny.
Yeah.
Although I was out in a t-shirt today. I mean, it was upper 50s, but like I said, I was moving around a bunch of lumber and cutting it down and such, and yeah, it I got a little warm, so I was out
Yeah.
outside. Had the shop doors open for a bit because I was moving things in and out. Kind of felt good, but I also realized that's not going to happen much longer for
Yeah.
me.
TIG, yeah, pretty much. I mean, I can't promise you we've used it because there's a lot of brands out there that me or Steve either one haven't used, but we think we between the two of us we've used most of the popular ones. Too much of this is weird. Well, Jack, if you keep it clean, like I said, I think especially with the CO2 stuff and those mirrors, the way they're made and coated and everything, I think if you keep them clean, they should last a good while. Now, the ones in my Monport, I mean, uh, you know, they don't have any blemishes on them at all, and I've run it pretty good bit.
Yeah, I mean that there's a lot of truth to that. Now there are some reasons you might want to play around with some different mirrors. If you're kind of on the edge of your cutting power, there's some that can be a little more efficiently reflective, but swapping out lenses, sometimes you want to get a little deeper, longer cut, and you don't mind sacrificing a little bit of curve for it, or you want a finer detail, and so you swap out a shorter length. That there could be reasons to swap the lenses, not that they're bad and such, but when it comes to those mirrors, yeah, if I don't have to touch them, I really don't want to, other than a lint-free swab and some alcohol.
Yeah. Yeah, see, Mark agrees with me. It gets down to 50, it's time to grab a jacket.
Well, um, this week we still have some 60s, but pretty much once we hit Thanksgiving here, I think my above freezing temperatures are going to be few and far between for a few months.
Well, it's cooling off here, but it's not cold yet.
Hey, hobo. Yeah, I see that a lot too, and you're right. I was doing some of the Halloween lanterns on my CNC um, a couple years ago, and they were going okay. But once another guy started making them later or the next year, and I I was like, okay, you're basically getting your money back out of the material. What's the point? So, but that's what he said. He's like, I just do this for fun. I just want to buy some more material and play more. I'm like, okay, well, I guess, but thanks. I'm not. I don't try to like uh completely, like upsell my products and such. Just a fair price for the amount of work and time involved in it. Um, I see both ends of the spectrum where they want way too much for some of their things, and then others who just are I don't know how they do it. It's like I look at it and I go, I couldn't get the materials for that.
Yeah, I don't. Like I said, mine are affordable, but I try to make. I'm gonna make a little something. I'm not just I don't want to just spend all my time making stuff for nothing. If I want to donate something to somebody, I'll donate them. So let's see here. Tig's asking a question about the Rolly, and I know neither one of us have one, but I've heard good things about them, and it looks like an okay machine. So
Um, Yeah, if you want a good take on the Rolly, go check out Hobo with Wood or Rich Louisiana Hobby Guy. They really use theirs a lot, and have had good things to say about the Rolly. Neither of us have had a chance to check one out, but um, even with their first one, their 10-watt version, it seemed a pretty good deal, and they do a good job testing each one before they send out. So I hear good things about their support and such. So I not having messed with one, um, can't speak from firsthand experience, but there's a lot of people I trust out there that are really standing behind them. So
Yeah, like I said, I haven't seen anybody that I would take what they say that have anything bad to say. Most everybody that I've seen so far loves them, and I would not mind trying one out. But like I said, it's just I got a lot of them already, and I don't know what I would do with it just yet. So, but if they wanted to send one over to try out, then by all means, would be more than glad to do that.
yeah,
Yeah, if
Robert, profit isn't a dirty word, and it shouldn't be the race to the bottom. So I would find if the market isn't going to pay you what you feel your product is worth, then I would not chase others down with
oh,
that.
that's a tricky question.
Which one?
That one right there, it's a tricky question.
Um, yeah. Well, okay. I guess it depends on which X tool. Um,
Yeah.
but I I don't know. I've been
Well,
hearing
seeing that
more.
Acer doesn't make certain machines, I'm assuming we will be talking about the D1s versus the X tool because he's talking about the adding a 20 watts. So I'm guessing that he's talking about.
Well, but I mean, if you're looking at a new laser, you might be looking at their newest version. My biggest thing um, with X tool is on the D1 is the lack of auto air. I've really gotten accustomed to enjoying having that on my machines, and when I don't, uh, inevitably I'll forget it once or twice.
Yeah.
I did that while testing that Elegoo machine. Went to run my second cut test, and yep, I forgot to turn the air on. So I turned it on halfway through, but so that would be the biggest thing on that one. Um, Eights are, I mean, they've been making some good deals on their machines lately. So I don't know if they're looking to bring something new out or what, but haven't heard much from them in the past few months. And I've had a couple people reach out to me on my channel saying they're actually having trouble getting support. So take that with a grain of salt. But I would say at this point, you got a lot of Black Friday sales are starting, and I think you're going to have the Amazon ones starting. I think this next week sometime. I'd keep an eye. I mean, unless you absolutely had got to buy one today, keep an eye out over the next few weeks, and yeah, you're going to see some pretty good deals on a variety of machines. But
Yeah. See, on that particular thing, see, either the X tool, if you're talking about the D1 or the V35 that he mentioned, neither one have auto air, which I do wish the Acer would have just left the V35 alone instead of coming out with the L34 or 36 or whatever. I wish they would have just incorporated automatic air to the V35. I think it would be the perfect machine in that situation. Uh, Z axis, I like some Z axes, but more often than not, folks kind of mess up the Z axis. I like the Niji Z axis. I like the S1, the new X Tool S1 Z axis, and the Two Trees TS2 Z axis is pretty cool. But some of the other ones, even the Acer one, I didn't like the Acer one because
yeah,
it was a little flaky.
well, the Acer and the IKEA are I mean, almost identical machines, and I've been able to play with both of those, and I would agree. When it works, even when it works normal as it should, it's slow, and you can't rehome without resetting the Z. And I think if they took that out, if they separated that, I'd be more okay with it. So
Yeah.
I don't know. I haven't had a chance to play with Nijis and or the two trees, but yeah, I haven't seen a good setup of the autofocus in most
Well,
of these
now
diodes. So
the We Create's got a pretty bad one. I mean,
yep,
it's a no touch method. I don't know how they're doing it, but it's nice.
yeah. So
So
I'm excited for that one. Um, Now the S1, that's got the probe touch off, right?
yeah, it's got a probe. It's got a
Yeah.
resettable probe.
So I mean that from what I've seen is all right, but yeah, these others I would agree with you. Add the auto air, keep the manual focus for me, um, and just get the cables out of the way.
Quit making them stick up.
Yeah. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, honestly, but I mean, going back to his question, I mean, X Tool or Acer, I would say just keep an eye on the price and whichever one speaks to you these next couple of weeks, because I don't think you can go wrong with either company. Assuming, I mean, you've had some experience with Acer support. I've had some, but not. I didn't have to have anything replaced. They were responsive. X Tool again. I mean, with any of these companies, take into account the time difference. I think that it helps. Trying to be concise but also clear about what's happening. Um,
Yeah.
when if your first three emails back and forth to them are "My machine's broke, help me," well, they've got nothing to go on, so now you got to wait a day, and then they're going to ask questions, and the more you can kind of explain your situation, the faster your support's going to be.
Yup. Do, 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 do. Let's see. I don't know who they're talking to about this because you have a bigger CO2.
I do.
So I think maybe it's
Yeah.
me. Uh, Not really. I don't because I basically only use the CO2s for acrylic, and acrylic typically I get it in 6x12 sheets, or yeah, 8x12 sheets. Sometimes I might get a 12x12. So I don't really need a bigger CO2, and yeah, that's. I mean, maybe one day if I had infinite shop space, maybe, but not the
So
case today.
I actually started out with a larger 60-watt CO2 laser. That was my first one. Got it about a little over 7 years ago. And I actually had started out looking at the K40s because I wanted something. I had the CNC machine, but I wanted to be able to cut a few things with a laser. So I started looking at those desktop K40s, thinking, well, maybe I'll play around with one of those. And the more research I did on them, realizing quickly where you buy the machine for at that time was about 300 and some odd dollars, but then you put another 700-800 into it, and now you got $1,000 into this machine, and you only have a letter paper size cutting area, if that. So that's where I started going, well, if I'm going to be into it, the 1,000, might as well go 1,500 and get the next step up. And then it kind of snowballed into the third step up because I found a good deal and I waited a little bit longer. Um, and yeah, I really like having that working area. Especially, when I was dealing with, I actually a lot of times would like a wider one than that because when cutting out model airplane parts, I like to be able to use up to 36-inch planks of balsa, and so that width can be very useful. Um, and even more recently, cutting out the acrylic, the JTech Photonics acrylic is rated to block the 455 nanometer wavelength, whereas the CO2 is still going to just blast right through it. So I used my CO2 to actually cut out the window on top and the pane on the front and the sides and get the slots and everything. So having it bigger for that was really helpful. Or if you're really batching out jobs, it's hard to beat a CO2 and its speed on a larger bed. But
Yeah, Hobo, it uses some. I'm not going to quote for sure exactly what it uses. I don't know what frequency or whether they're using optical sensors or I don't know exactly what it is, but it works really well. So I hadn't looked at the specs to see, but I just know that it's a no touch focus, which is cool.
So yeah, the Cheedy 3D printer, I posted that review earlier this week, and looking forward to now playing around with it a little bit more. I actually bought some inexpensive silk filament, and this is like two-tone. So I just printed this off earlier today to make sure it can work with it with the stock settings. So now that I've got that in there, there's a couple of things that I wanted to play around with. They're more of an articulating deal. So I want to play with that, and I'm gonna add a add a camera to it. It doesn't come with one default, but there is a USB port on the inside and the outside that you can detect a typical webcam from. So I'm gonna get one of those in there, so that'll make it easier to monitor and and yeah, do some more playing with it. But I know they had some bad units out, and then they kind of recalled those and did some changes, and I got kind of their version 2 one and really didn't have any problems with it, using the default settings for the most part with their filament. Now I'm starting to move into let's try the kind of generic stuff, see what it does there. But the speed and the quality is what's really impressed me. Is I haven't had to do much fiddling, and the speed is phenomenal because this little benchy printed out in 17 minutes. So
Yeah, I've got. I had a company reach out to me on one. It's very similar to that one that you've got, and I'm tempted, but you know how it gets right now. I'm kind of holding off for the moment. Rob, I think y'all are wrong, guys. I think peanuts are good, and no, I don't. As far
regular peanuts are good.
an update on
Roasted
my
peanuts are
generic
good.
jigs.
Honey roasted peanuts are great. Boiled
Yeah, I
peanuts are
like I like
just
roasted. I like them
yeah.
roasted, like them boiled, fried, however you cook them. Deep fried. I mean, whatever.
Let's see.
Yeah, in the X2 versus Acer arena, my thing is, I know the X2 will stretch out to 920 or whatever, but it's still only what 410 wide. So that's where I think Acer has a foot up is because you get a little bit wider. Now, if they make an extension for the longer, to where it's 850 by 450, now that may be another whole another game changer right there. Because I need the width for what I which to be honest with you, the Acer, the V35 is just big enough, and y'all can't see them, but I got a whole stack of stove covers that I put together today, uh, 8 of them to be exact, and they fit in here perfectly. Client come over here earlier to use my machine because it's just so much easier than having to like try to maneuver a machine around it and prop it up on top of it and all that. With my enclosure, you just literally drop them in the workspace and hit the button. So that's what keeps Acer in this enclosure is the fact that I sell so many of those stove covers every week. And there's no other machine so far that I've found that can do what it does. Unless, of course, I extended the Niji Max or that Sculpt Fun Ultra or the longer. They're actually bigger. But I'm afraid if I extended the Sculpt Fun Ultra that it'd be a little flimsy because it's only using the 20 by 20 extrusions.
Got some rails for one of those. I'd send them to you.
Yeah. You got extension rails for it?
Uh, yeah, I picked them
It's
up.
not for the Ultra, is it?
No, technically no. But they're the 20 by 20 Sculpt Fun rails, and I think I got them for the S10, but then they sent me the S30, and I just haven't played around with it because I think these were for one of them that doesn't have limit switches, so I don't even have the cable. I don't know. it's not one that it's not high on my priority to extend that one.
Yeah.
So
Oh, we got some guy in here from apparently there's a small island of Fiji. Huh, cool.
very nice.
I don't think we've had anybody from there yet.
Yeah, we got to work on that viewer map
Yeah,
for
I did
people
some
that
more
want to post
research.
that.
I did some more research on that. I can't find a good way to allow everybody to put in, their location or whatever, unless we do like a spreadsheet and let them add their, coordinates, and then we just
Well,
XML it to a map.
I'm
If
pretty
I
sure
knew
you
a
could.
computer, if I knew a computer guy that done that every day, I might could
Yeah,
talk him into.
I'm pretty sure you can create like a private Google map that people could access and drop their pin if they wanted to, and then it'd be available only to those who have that link or something like that. But I've seen it.
Yeah,
I've done it a couple other times, but
we'll have to figure it out. But let's see what else we got. I guess that's about it, guys. It is about 51 minutes, so if you haven't already, don't forget Laser Engraver community page. That is kind of our hangout. A lot of you guys are members already, and but if you're not, go check it out and go ahead and join up. But be sure to answer the questions because we try to make sure you answer the questions to prove that you're not a robot. Because we don't want those robots in there just dropping ads and stuff. We still have a few get through, but as soon as they get caught, we punt them out of there pretty fast. So go check that out if you're interested, and you know, see what it's all about. Share some pictures. There we go. Let's see. Ultra. Yeah, they may not make one for the Ultra, but I'm gonna be honest with you. With a little bit of wiring and some extrusions, it wouldn't be that difficult to extend it because it just uses 2020 extrusions, so it wouldn't be terribly hard. I wouldn't imagine, but I have no need to currently.
that's that's a big laser to have sitting around if you're not using that working area all the time.
Yeah, that's why I haven't really have no need. I don't currently have a need for it, but
Yeah, like I said before, that's where I like having the more wider than deeper ones. Is that you can, it's more often that you're working in something that's wider than it is tall, and so it's easier to keep it in kind of a normal orientation.
I missed something with ET's post.
I think
It looks like half of a conversation.
he was talking, reached out to We Create support, and that's some of the information they sent back. I think.
Oh, they're wanting you to use Hyper Terminal to do it. Oh yeah, that's going to go over like a lead balloon.
Well, hopefully they'll work that out. For,
I know some
more.
pretty computer literate people that would pull their hair out trying to run Hyper Terminal. Me being one of them.
Yeah, you can set up Windows Server without a GUI now, so all command line.
Yeah, I don't do that. I prefer a GUI. I prefer nice little things I can click.
It's funny. One of the faculty at the college I work for, they wanted to set up this kind of interactive sand table, and uses an Xbox Connect. It then plugs into this various mapping software and detection stuff, but it requires to run in Linux, and so all the younger guys are like, "Huh, we've never done Linux before," and there's only like 2 of us on the staff that have actually touched it. So, um, so I've had to kind of roll up my sleeves, get my hands dirty on helping set this up, and so we're hopefully going to get it going and test over winter break. Maybe it's really cool. I've seen them done before. You can
Cool.
kind of you change the sand, and then the camera detects that, and then it can kind of superimpose, like if you had water coming down, where it would run. So they're part of the GIS program there. They do a lot of civil engineering stuff, and so it kind of maps the sand as you have it laid out, and then we'll through colors and such we'll show the different effects of weather and such on it. So neat project to get to work on.
Well, for those guys wanting a small, compact machine, I do have a small, compact, but very rigid machine that so far looks like it's going to be a very capable machine, and it's a new atom stack machine that they've came out with that's smaller work area, but built like a tank. It's running a lot of the same parts as some of the atom stack machines, as well as some of the technology that's on it. I think they stole from Acer, because me and Steve have had that discussion that we believe they make them in the same factory, maybe just at different tables. But some of the stuff on it looks remarkably like parts of an Acer, the L24. But I think it's going to be a good machine. I'm still waiting on some more parts to come in to put it all together. But yeah, looks like it's going to be a good one.
Well, you got to remember too that IKEA and Eights are almost identical with their latest machines, and IKEA is the high-end Atom Stack brand. So,
They look a lot alike.
Yeah. So, Philip, on the CO2 firing, you can get it to fire possibly lower than 20%. It depends on what your controller will do or what it's set at, as well as your tube will have a minimum firing power, and I want to say my 60 watt is somewhere around, is it 14 or 16%. So you're not going to get much lower than 20, and hopefully you'd be able to just speed it up at that point, so that power is spread out faster. But I would look at, if you can get into the controller, you can usually actually adjust the minimum and maximum power. So you can play by bumping that down a little bit. But yeah, and Jack's saying his is 15%. Mine's, like I say, it's around the same, 15-16%. You're not gonna get much lower than that. So I would start trying to play with your speed at that point.
Yeah, I know the Monport it definitely has a fade. There's a point to where, like you said, I guess it just will not fire because it's not getting enough amperage or whatever. But I don't usually get down in those low ranges that much, so not a problem. Brad says he's working on some tumblers, acrylic ornaments, and mirror frames. What kind of mirror frames you making? They don't look like that one, do they? Uh-oh. I knew somebody was going to ask me this. Okay, I hate not having one in the X Tool S1, but little secret, I may or may not be working on a 3D printed mount for one of my little cameras that I use, my fish eyes, and I may or may not going to be adding a camera to the X Tool S1, because it is really annoying me it does not have one, to the point where I'm going to fix it. Because I like having a camera for placement and just visualization. I like it. I mean, I'm not knocking the 2-point aiming procedure that they have. It is very accurate, but it's not what I want. So I wish they sold the S1 with, like, maybe you could pay like an extra $100 and then add a camera to it for you. That way, if people didn't want the camera, you could order without a camera or order it with it, or maybe just an add-on. But I have just about figured out how I'm going to do it for the machine. So that's what I'm about to do. Larry, the only cameras I use anymore, or a matter of fact, I got one on the truck for the S1 right now, is the one I did. I did the last few videos I did on those. but I'll drop a link here because I know I got one on my recent orders because it is on the truck headed this way for the S1. So let me click on that and I'll show you. Now, the catch to these is they're relatively inexpensive, but they do have to have a housing. But I've got a 3D printed housing that I use as well as I've made some wooden ones in the past, but now I'm using the 3D printed ones. Well, it won't let me. Hang on. Hold up. There we go. But this is the camera that I run in all my enclosures right now here in the shack, the portable Clack shack, and soon to be in the X-Tool S1. It's a 8 megapixel board camera made for Raspberry Pi type devices. Pretty much plug and play with any operating system. And I've got that's what I'm running in my enclosures, and also I've put one in, or Klein's put one in his enclosure, and they work great. So. AtomStack websites, you have atomstack.com and atomstack.net, which is confusing. Everybody fusses about it. I don't know why they did it. I
Well,
don't know why they didn't just do auto forward from .com to .net. That's what I did with the clackshack.net.
well,
Just auto forwarded it to .com.
there are slight differences in some of the models they offer on each one, and it's not guaranteed that they are the same company.
I don't know. I get emails from both of them, so I can't, they both send me the same exact stuff. Matter of fact, I think the machine that I've got now came from .com, right?
I
Yeah.
honestly I don't remember.
Yeah, let me look at the email I tell you. Yes, atomstack.com is where, and I'm waiting for the honeycomb to come in. It's the one that's made for that particular machine. Waiting on a honeycomb, air assist, the new R1 version 2, and the R2 version 2. Those are supposed to be on their way here. So.
Yeah. Yeah, see, there's Paul's mentioning also found one called atomstackofficial.com because, adding official in the name will help
It makes it
make it
official.
look legit. So, yeah. I don't know what's going on there because like there are different people that interact with different things that even have different affiliate links for the sites and such. So that there's I don't know which one's the primary one, which one's a reseller. Obviously, atomstackofficial.com is most likely a reseller. But it's a little frustrating and ridiculous. So
Yeah. IG creates, every area is different. Learn the market where you're going to be selling at. And I mean, the only universal thing I would say is your presentation and your presence when people walk up to your table is going to make a difference about whether they want to hang around and buy from you or whether they keep walking. So that's one of the hardest things for a lot of people to do is that, you know, initial contact and trying to engage folks. Because once you engage them, you stand a lot better chance of selling to them
mhm.
than if you just let them stand there in silence.
Yeah, it's partially selling yourself as the maker, the creator, and then engaging with people. I would say too, have a decent variety of product and such, but don't clutter your table. If it's too cluttered, and if you have like a really noisy tabletop, like a cloth or something on it, people are gonna kind of not know what all they're looking at and kind of move on. So um, there's some good examples out there of some nicely staged tables. Then you see some others where you can't kind of pick out individual items because it just seems so noisy and cluttered.
Mine was pretty cluttered the other day, Friday, for the first half, but then it got where it was really scarce.
Yeah. Um, Johnny, that's cool with the Thunderbolt. I've been keeping my eye on those, and yeah, there is definitely a world of difference depending on what you're doing. You can definitely see a big increase in productivity and capability with a CO2 versus a diode. But um, again, if it's sometimes having a couple of smaller machines running is just as good. But definitely give us some more feedback after you have more time with it, and let us know because it does look like a really cool machine.
I think one of us had a cat go by. Not
Yeah.
sure if it was you or me. It's probably me. It was just about that time. Yeah, and that's what I tell people all the time because, like, in order for me to take and get a CO2 machine big enough for me to take a 22 and a half by 30 and a half piece of wood and set it in, I'd have to spend a lot of money and it would take up a lot of space, like twice the space of this enclosure that I've got sitting right here. So,
See, and that's the thing where it's not. I don't think that's not where you're going to see gains because if you're doing something that big anyway, it's generally an engraving and it's just going to take time anyway. But when you're batching out multiple objects and you can get a lot going in one of those beds rather than the time you have to swap things out, that's where producing a lot of the same widgets is
yeah.
I think where you see the big gains with them. So
Oh, Ventura, it's you. You got your cat sneaking around.
uh, he's should be eating about now.
Yeah. Well, like I said, there may come a day to where I want to invest in a bigger machine for some things, but it's gonna be a while. Because I don't if I took room to put in a machine big enough to do what I do, and then have the chiller to go with it and everything, and then I got the way the lid opens, you can't put anything above it. It's just I don't have that kind of room. I do not have that kind
I
of room.
think you're just trying to talk yourself out of think you
No, I
need
don't
one. I
have
think
that.
you'd be surprised if you
Don't
got
have
one.
that kind. I don't have that kind of room right now.
You have room for one. They're not taking up that much space.
No, the one I'm going to get will because I want to be able to get me a 4x8 sheet of plywood and rip it into four
I,
pieces
but
and go
but but
cut.
what's no? You're rarely going to do that. I mean, what is the point at that? You're not going to be cutting 4x8 sheets of plywood day in and day out. You're going to do that with a CNC machine first off.
No, I'm saying I'm
But
going to cut it into 2x4 sheets. I want a 24 by 48 workbed. If I ever buy a big machine, that's what I want.
everybody says that, and yes, there's going to be the times that you are going to want it. But if you're not regularly doing that, you do not need a machine that big. It just, yeah, it's very expensive when you jump up there above that 27-inch wide. But
Well, that's where I want to go if I get when I get me a big one. I want to get it. If I'm gonna jump, I'm gonna jump big.
I see, I know people have done that, and all of a sudden they're like, I oversized it, and so they're selling it and downscaling. So
Eh. Well, I think I have a pretty good idea of a niche market, and I know I do about once a year that I could really make some cash with it. And like I said, as I retire, I got a couple of other things on my mind that I'm gonna get into, and it's gonna require me to have a bigger work area. And yes, a CNC could do it, and I do plan on getting me a bigger CNC eventually too. But I think the laser would be a lot faster with the thinner materials and stuff. So we'll see. We'll see how it goes. Back's doing better. Thanks for asking, but I go back to work tomorrow. I've got mixed feelings about that. I've been enjoying my time off, but I say I like having time off, but I had been so limited, I really didn't get to enjoy it. And now that I'm feeling better, I kind of wish I could be off for a little while, but I need to get back to work. But yeah.
yeah,
Apparently, AGT says he talked to us last week about the X tool quitting mid job and said that his motherboard apparently went bad.
they're sending him a new one. I hope that well, those boards aren't terribly hard to replace, I guess.
Take pictures of it before you unplug anything from
Yeah.
it. That way you'll know where everything goes back to.
So that that's an interesting thing that sometimes even the same company, it feels like two people have a similar problem. One person, they'll like, here's the 20 parts you need and the 5 hours to disassemble and reassemble and whatever, and the next person, like, well, we're just going to swap out your machine.
Yeah.
you know I, um the board on that one, it's not too hard to get at. But yeah, anytime having to swap boards on there, I'm kind of like, well, I guess that might be the faster way to get it fixed, but I think that's really frustrating to put that on the customer at times. And I'm used to working with electronic boards and such, but
Yeah.
I mean, it's good that they're supporting it and sending parts. There's some places that'll just ghost you at that point, but
Yeah, I've got to deal with Algo laser now on this Algo and see what they say on it. Which now I have used it a lot. You've seen how much work I put this thing through, and I think maybe the firmware crashed, but I'm kind of concerned.
well, yeah, they've got that weird long press to power on, kind of like the Ortur laser, and I don't like that.
Yeah, if you hold it too long, it'll take you into firmware mode.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I've had other devices like that where, you know, there's there's what a double click, and then there's a slow, and then like a short, and then a quick click or something like that, and you're like, well, I could accidentally do the wrong thing, and now, especially if they have just light sequences or beeps, and you're like, I don't know what I'm listening to or seeing, to tell what mode I'm in.
Yeah, see, that's what I'm not sure. That's not what happened with the Algo because I went to power it on and I noticed that instead of turning white, the light started going red, yellow, green, red, yellow, green, red, yellow, green. I'm like, what in the world is that? So I had to search it and I'm like, oh my goodness, I'm in firmware mode. So I just killed it,
Yeah.
and I'm not sure that's not what caused the problem. But I tried
Yeah.
to reflash. I tried reflashing it according to their directions, and still, it's doing the same thing. So I'm afraid I may have a bigger issue, but we'll see. Worst case, it may wind up parts.
Well, hope not. It's a decent laser.
Yeah, I hated to see it go. It was doing me a good job. I had just finished cutting out all those little refrigerator magnets and stuff for May on it, and it started giving me a little bit of trouble. So I went ahead and put another batch in the H or V35 just in case it didn't finish the job, and then I'll be doggone, it finished the job. So I wound up May got like 20 extra refrigerator magnets because I'd already cut them to just in case. But yeah, it worked out.
Nice.
Ooh.
Well, I picked up a something I haven't played with before, is a set of these acrylic paint pens.
Hey,
After I heard someone else had some.
you talking about like hey, do you need a file for a paint pen caddy?
No, I've got a box. Uh so yeah, I've got a couple ideas for some projects here between, Thanksgiving and Christmas holidays type stuff. So I've never actually played with the acrylic paint pens. I've usually used either the brush on paint, the spray on paint, or just, markers. So I'll give them a
They
whirl.
they have a place for sure. Whew. Maybe's got me trying out some new glue that she swears is the best glue ever.
Hmm.
It comes with a metal applicator with a metal pen, and that part I like. I'm actually wanting to get the metal cover to go with my CA glue because it is awesome.
Hmm.
But hang on, let me go get this stuff and I'll show you.
Running away all the time.
But yeah, see, here it is right here. Woohoo! But look at that! Look at that! Look at
Does it
that!
say something about glitter?
Yeah, it's made for glitter,
Uh-huh.
art glitter glue. But it's clear. It's clear glue. But look at this. When you get ready to take it's got this little BB on top of here with this little pin, and it's metal, stainless steel, so it just pops right out. Look at that. So, and then you just got to put the needle back in without sticking yourself.
That does not sound like fun with CA glue.
I think it'll work well. I think it'll work good. See, it just slides right in there. We'll see. Like I said, I'm gonna try it out. The little tips actually just kind of thread onto the bottle itself. So it's pretty neat. But yeah, I've been for like real fine for like letters and stuff. She told me to try this and see how it works. All her people say that it's the best glue ever, so we'll see. Glue activator is illegal in OZ. OZ. Okay.
You're talking about CA glue activator, Chris?
Well, hello there, Eddie. Do, 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 do. Yeah, they need to get me some more CA glue. Something happened to mine. It just turned into a brick. Apparently, somebody didn't put the lid on it good. Yeah, he's saying CA glue.
So yeah, you could just use acetone or baking soda, or I think some isopropyl alcohol would work as well. You don't have to get the actual stuff.
Yeah. Well, now Penny, this actually came with this little metal sleeve for the bottle itself too. So I thought that was pretty neat. I like that idea. The glue seems to be okay too, but I really like the little tip idea. I'll have to go back and grab me a couple more of them. Whew. You use a really fine tip, ET.
And a steady hand.
Yes. Or you use 3M spray adhesive, and then you just flip it over and put it on there. That works as well. So I got like a glue for every occasion.
Yeah, lost soul doesn't appreciate your yawning.
I can't help it. It's getting late and I'm getting old. All right, so I got this stuff that I've tried out too. It works okay. Not terrible. Then of course I have Gorilla Glue. It works. And then this is the CA, but my lid's done got CA together, so I got to fix that. The glue's still good in the bottle, but I can't get the lid off. So I gotta come up with a new method. And then I got some this Loctite spray adhesive. A lot of time the spray stuff works really well. Like if it's really thin parts, you just lay them upside down on a piece of cardboard or something, spray them, and this stuff's pretty sticky. But you just got to make sure when you put it down, you got to make sure you put it where it needs to be, because this dries pretty quick. So it's just different glues for different applications. And of course I have wood glue for wood products.
I didn't see any epoxy there.
There's some over here. It's in big gallon jugs. Well, actually, I may have some of the syringe epoxy somewhere. I think I've got some of the syringe epoxy over there where you just shoot it out of the syringe, but I've got the jugs of epoxy that I mix up. Thought it said Clack. What? First label? Oh. But yeah, it's it's wild. Now for wood, I can't get away from Type Bond 3. That's just, it works really well. Oh, look, Steve, I saw that. That was a yawn.
I usually use Type on 2.
Why, you just don't want to go to 3?
Well, I don't really need 3 for most crafty kind of things, unless it's an exterior type thing.
Well, I use it for everything.
Yeah, if you want CA to last a little bit longer, you can do two things. You can put it in like a canning jar so it limits its exposure to extra air, um, and or put it in a fridge or a freezer because it's really the humidity that starts to spoil it. So most fridge or freezers is going to cut down on that humidity, and also it's going to have less air circulation to it. But even just stick it in like a canning jar can help, and that just cuts down on the amount of humidity it can draw from. But also, not getting glue all over the tip and then screwing it back on will help you too. Got to be a little more patient than that.
I don't know what happened.
Uh-huh.
I don't know how it happened. I just went to get it down and it wouldn't come off. I took two pair of pliers and I was like, oh, that's not coming off there.
What is it now?
Did they make a spray coating? Yeah. I mean, you could. I don't know about I don't know about protecting it where you can wipe off paint necessarily. It would probably help if you sprayed it with poly or something.
Yeah, I guess I'm not following that quite right. I mean, if you're trying to paint deeper engravings, um, I would get uh, if you can finish the wood first, which will give it a protecting layer, and then mask it. That'll help protect both from bleed through, as well as the masking will help kind of keep the paint where it needs to be. But as far as in wiping off that coating, you're not necessarily going to be able to do that.
Masking's going to be your friend on that.
Yeah.
And then, like we've talked about before, like if you mask it, then before you take the mask off, or even after, I mean, I would probably do it before. You could spray it with some clear poly or something like that to kind of cut down on the bleed out. Because if the poly was to bleed out from under the tape, it's not going to be as noticeable as the paint would be once you take it and unmask it.
Yep.
But I don't do a whole lot of masking. Most of the stuff I do, I just sand it when I get through.
Yeah, I mean, I guess the difference would be that if you've got a shallow engrave and you want to keep that color, sanding can sometimes ruin that. But if it's deep enough, you can paint that and sand it off, and your deeper stuff's gonna be your deeper stuff should stay.
Answer to this one is I never use constant power except for one time on the CO2 laser cutting this stencil material because it would not cut it in the corners if I didn't run constant power for some reason. But on a diode laser, I have never used constant power. It just causes overcharring in the corners. So,
Yeah, on
how
that,
about you, Steve?
I same thing. And I don't know. There's something about that little Monport M40 that it likes to drop the power in the corners faster than it should. So I found myself trying to play around with that min max a bit, and also turning on constant power as well. And I think it's not as tuned as it should be, and causes issues like that. Outside of that laser, I've never found a reason or a need to use constant power.
But if you do run constant power, be aware you will probably have excess charring or burning on the outer edges of your engrave where it slows down to either turn or go back the other way. Klein had one the other day that was burning holes through his stuff, and he called me. He's like, "Something's going on," and he had downloaded a file off of Etsy, and they had constant power turned on the layer, and so around the edges of the engrave, it was actually cutting all the way through the wood on the Atom Stack 30 watt. So yeah, constant power just causes problems on a diode. I haven't found a good application for it on a diode yet. Questions, comments, concerns, anything?
I'm concerned that I'm gonna have to go back to work on Tuesday, and I got too much stuff to get done.
I got to go back tomorrow, and I ain't been there in 6 weeks, so there's no telling what all I got to do.
Yeah, well,
I know I got a whole bunch of audits I got to complete. I keep getting emails about them.
I'm hoping I got hit with a slew of those this summer and early fall as well, but I'm hoping we're done with that. But no, I took Friday afternoon off. I had a morning meeting that I needed to take, but so I was working on some stuff in the shop, and then I was hoping to get more done this weekend. Except for I kept I kept having to move things around, and it finally just got to me. I'm like, I got to build this other
Mm-hmm.
workbench cart thing, and so that took priority. This afternoon, getting that set up and done. So hopefully, I still got tomorrow off. So I'm hoping to get out there, play with the WeCreate, maybe play with the small atom stack, get some stuff going on those, so that I can get back. I also have a couple of projects, and I want to get those out as well. And I've got to be starting up on some Christmas gift ornaments things. So I got a lot of shop time to get caught up on. So I'm hoping this organization day has helped me.
Yeah, I've got 8 stove covers that I put together today, sitting over there. You can barely see them right here in the corner. Sorry, guys. Sorry. You can barely see them parked over there in the corner of my screen, over on this side right there. That's a stack of 8 stove covers sitting over there. But I've got to get those. I've got them sanded and everything ready for stain. I got to get those finished, and then put the handles and little feet on them and all that, and get them out the door. Uh, and then I've only got 5 more to do. So that's only 13 stove covers to build this week. Uh, and then I've got a couple of other jobs that I'm probably fixing to have to cut loose on. I got a project I'm working with May May on that's she's going to want a bunch of different pieces, and so it's going to probably be all hands on deck. I'm probably going to have the S1, the longer, and the 8s are all 3 cutting in here for 3 or 4 days. So we'll see how that goes. More about that when I can, but it's kind of classified right now. Petey, no, I have not tried. She just tried that. She'd never done it before. She just watched the video and said she wanted to try it, and she come out here and stole some of my Christmas trees. But I haven't tried that, so maybe we could.
You need to stop that,
I
man.
cannot help it, man. I need some caffeine or something. Whew. Uh, I've done a pretty good bit. I spent like what, a whole day the other day making mirrors on that WeCreate. So I run the dog stew out of it that day. It probably needs a good thorough cleaning. I wiped it down real good, but I have not like thoroughly cleaned it yet. And after all those mirrors, it probably needs it. But I've used it a decent amount. I mean, I haven't. The work area on it kind of prohibits it from doing a lot of the other stuff that I do. I can't fit a stove cover inside it, so I don't get to use it for those. But
Well, just take the tray out and have it focus low.
I don't know if it'll go that far. Uh, but uh, but yeah, it's a decent machine so far. I haven't found any bad things about it. Have some owls you want to do? Well, hey, do some owls. I've actually got a fridge in here, and let's see, I got water and apple juice, and by apple juice I mean apple cider, and by apple cider I mean adult apple cider. So that's not going to help with the yawning. The water might. Maybe it's the last one. Maybe make a bottle of water.
So Eddie Cat's asking about getting acrylic for enclosures, and yeah, orange will block some, but the color is less important as so much that it's actually tested for its optical density per the wavelength. So JTech Photonics has some that I like to use. It's rated for the 455 nanometer wavelength that the diode lasers work. Man, you are really loud.
Sorry, I was
And
balling up a bottle.
uh, it's also got an optical density of 3, which you really want 4 or higher, but uh, that is properly rated, and it's going to work a lot better than some of the random things I've seen on the cloth enclosures. But um, yeah, that's my biggest complaint, is that it's hard to find, like, on the glasses and then the glass, to get any specs that it's actually tested for the wavelength of the laser. So, but that's where I get it at the JTech Photonics site. Um, it's not the cheapest stuff, but it's actually been tested. So,
Yeah, they peel the corner back on it and initial and mark whether it passed or failed the test or whatever on the corner of it.
yep.
Do, 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 do. ET want me to do a video on how to clean the recreate. Yeah, I'm gonna have to probably watch a video to figure out how to do it. Steve, he said it looks like you're about to pass out.
Well, I'm trying to sit up a little bit because I'm still trying to stretch my back out after moving all that
Yeah,
stuff around in my shop. So
yeah, he's having a little back pain, guys. So,
I'm not trying to go down the path you went, but that
hey, I
was,
wasn't trying to go down that path either, and I don't want to ever go back down that one.
yeah, no, that was just a lot of shuffling and stuff. So
But now you are starting to look a little bit like me. About 3 or 4 weeks ago, when I was just sitting over here, just turning and twisting, and whew. Yeah, the only thing I'll say about JTech is if you think you need one piece, you may want to go ahead and order two because the shipping is not cheap.
mhm.
I think the shipping costs about as much as a 12 by 24 sheet of the acrylic.
It
So,
depends on your location. They send it UPS, and so depending on your zone from I think it's southern or central Texas, yeah, it can add up. So um, I generally buy a couple sheets at a time. If I'm building one, I'll grab enough windows for a second one, because chances are I'll need it for myself or a friend. Because the shipping of for two is only like an extra, $3-4,
mm-hmm.
which really brought the per sheet down. But yeah, that's the bummer part on it.
Yeah. Vince said he ordered a 12 by 12 sheet, and the shipping's 11.80. So
Yeah, well,
that's not
you
terrible.
keep it below if you keep it below like 24 inches in any one length, shipping is reasonable. But since it's 24-inch sheets that we're buying, their box is like 26 inches, and so now it just jumps up ridiculously.
Yeah. It'd be nice if it could just like bend it, roll it up in a roll, and stick it in a round one.
Yeah, if it was like a
Oh.
film you could put on regular plexiglass or something, that'd be nice.
Da, 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 da. All right, Darren's off to bed. What time is it? It's 1:30, or well, 1:30 is how long we've been doing this. Not 1:30. The counter up there says 1:30, so it's been
Uh-huh.
an hour and 33 minutes. There you go.
How much would it? Um,
Hey,
pri- I don't. Right now, I don't think you could afford it because I'm so busy with so many other things. I, I wouldn't be able to fit it in. Um, yeah, there's a fair amount of
you're
labor.
saying it would have to be expensive to get you to tear away right now.
Yeah, it's yeah, I'm behind on a number of things. So work has just work and some family stuff have just kind of kept me so busy in my days the past couple of weeks that I've gotten behind in the shop stuff. So and then of course, I actually want to I'd like to build a bigger one now for myself, and I've been saying that for, I don't know, most of summer. So
I say since about June, I think is when you
yeah,
started saying you were going to do it.
yeah. So that's also going to need to take priority, and I'm probably going to have to go buy more wood to make that happen. I was trying to, so when I grabbed the sheets of plywood, I was like, okay, I need two for the shelving units that I'm going to build, the cart table things. So I'm going to grab an extra one because A, I was loading it up. B, um, if you're in the Midwest, the Menards 11% off rebate is going to end the day before Thanksgiving. Then we won't see it till, who knows, sometime in January. So I figure if I'm going to need it, I might as well grab it while it's a little bit cheaper. But yeah, I was hoping to grab an extra sheet to be able to use on an enclosure. But I think I'm probably still going to need one more. But
And a few more 2x4s.
And well, I know to build the second table, I'm going to need more 2x4s. But those I'm less worried about. They're, like I said, I was telling you earlier, or no, I was telling my friend earlier. It hurt a little bit, but the 2x4s weren't terrible because they're down to like $3.25 a piece versus like $8 to $10 they were a year ago
Yeah.
or so. That was just ridiculous. The
So your
plywood has
opinion?
come a little bit, but man, the plywood is still ridiculous.
Yeah. Well, I'm hoping I don't have to build another enclosure anytime soon.
Yeah,
Water didn't
well,
help.
the idea is to build it once and have it last for a while, but you know, things change. Sometimes you need a bigger one, sometimes you need a more compact one. Who knows? But
Yeah, well, luckily this one right here, when I built it extra. So like I got like I don't know 4 or 5 inches on this side, and then same thing on the other side, and then I've got about that much in the front as well. So
yeah,
that one should last me, and that's a longer that's in there now. If I put something like the Algo laser in there, it looks like a baby.
well, you
So
should put the new Atom stack in there.
I could actually probably fit it inside the longer.
Inside the longer, yeah.
Yeah, I think I can. Seriously. I don't think that. Me and Klein were talking about that today. Hang on a minute. Let me see something. I seriously think it will fit. Maybe have to take the module. No, I might take the module. I take the module off of it, but it's close.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I got that little Atom stack unit. I mean, there wasn't much assembly to it, but I got that put together.
I was
So,
fixing to say you can put that thing together in 10 minutes.
well, now I did have an issue where my module was a little um there was a little bit of play in the wheels and such, so I had to figure out how to adjust those. And I should have recorded it when I did it because it's not normal. And that might be a question people have on that one. It wasn't too difficult, but you got to remove, that plate that they have you put on the gantry, the first one.
Yeah.
You got to take that off, and then there's two screws on the wheel. You loosen those, the set screws, and then you twist the whole thing, and that kind of raises and lowers it like an eccentric nut does.
Cool.
So I had to play with that a little bit to get it to getting it tightened up, but then it was pretty solid. So
Yeah. Well, Chris, I guess that would depend. Depends on your perspective, I reckon.
yeah, context helps there too.
Yeah. Yup. But yeah, I'm gonna hopefully maybe next week, maybe that stuff for that machine to come in. The honeycomb was really the part that I wanted to see because it looks to me like the honeycomb is actually going to be kind of be made into the bottom of the machine,
Hmm.
and I want to see how that works. Trying to go over here when I yawn, in case y'all missed that. I can't help it. I ate supper. Wife cooked me some chicken and some little stir fried potatoes earlier, and man, I'm telling you, oh, done got me fat and happy, and a little heartburn.
You sure that's not all the boiled peanuts?
Yeah, well, that could be. It could have been them boiled peanuts there.
Yeah.
No telling. So what we got to look forward to over at the Ventari's workshop this week? You got anything that's going to drop this week that you can tell us about, or is everything like classified?
Well, I have one one project that I got to edit. It's all filmed and done, but it's a French cleat setup that so there's a now you either got to be able to borrow or have a table saw or borrow a table saw from someone to make the cleat. But I made some brackets and a box using French cleats to be able to store things or make a shelf and such. So I'm gonna try to drop that out there as kind of an inspirational video for making some parts to do a little shop organization.
Cool.
And then yeah, I got to work with there's the We Create Vision, and then there's that Atom Stack machine. So I got to try to work through those and hopefully get some of that out quickly so that I I want to do a good job on the reviews, but I want to get back to project videos with them too because that's where I have a lot of fun. So
Huh. Didn't know that. Eddie says they don't sell Tums in Japan. That's cool.
really,
Yeah, get yourself some baking soda. Mix it with a little bit of warm water. It works. Uh, IG creates. This is what I use. It's literally
cotton
I buy
T-shirt.
them. I buy them in bags of rags, but it is an old, wore out T-shirt. So if you have an old, wore out T-shirt in your house, just tear it into little strips, and it works great. Pro tip: nitrile gloves. Latex is not your friend when dealing with stain. Latex will dissolve and go away. Nitrile. You can literally. I reuse these gloves 4 and 5 times until I finally tear a hole in them. Nitrile gloves. You can get them at most parts houses have them because they're chemical resistant. So these things will not dissolve in stain because latex gloves are latex and they mix paint thinner with latex paint, which so you get the point. Latex gloves will dissolve and fall off your hands. Nitrile will not. And this is the kind of gloves we use when we're handling any kind of chemicals or anything like that at work too, because they're real resistant to let stuff get into your skin and
And
even some of the really nasty stuff.
you can grab both the latex ones and the nitrile ones at a lot of places. I know Harbor Freight has them, and I think their prices have come back down on their gloves like that. I like to keep both kinds in there because the latex ones are a little bit cheaper, and if I'm
Yeah.
just literally doing some painting or things like that, I'll just use those. But then yeah, I'll break out the nitrile ones for the more
When
caustic kind of things.
I was say, well, when you're using a rag and you're staining, the tips of your fingers are going to get that stain on them, and that stain is eventually going to eat the tips out of latex. That's my experience, especially when you're staining like 8 stove covers like that over there. It takes a good bit of time. You've got your hands in that stuff for a while. Latex will fall off, and then you'll have brown fingertips. So, but yeah, the latex are okay if you're just like you said painting, holding a paintbrush or something like that, where they're not going to be getting that much on them. But stain, it will eat them up. Ooh, stink bug crawling up my arm over here. It's starting to get cold. Stink bug's looking for a place to sleep. I use the blue shop towels in here sometimes, but not for that. Uh, Eddie said he does. I don't know if he's talking about the baking soda or the gloves. Yeah, if you have an old flannel, I don't have a whole lot of that. Steve probably has a lot of it, judging from you know he's up there in South Canada,
Hey, it's comfortable. It's a good layer.
dressing like Paul Bunyan.
Yes, well, it's the look around here, right? It's fall, it's winter.
I understand,
Start
Dave.
bundling up.
Pete's saying that Harbor Freight has them on sale right now. I'm guessing for the nitrile gloves.
Yeah, they like I said, they stock both, and I think they generally when one goes on sale, both do. But
Yeah, I haven't found anything yet that will eat the nitrile gloves up other than fire. They will go away if they get near fire. So they don't make good welding gloves.
No.
Hey, good news though. Hopefully, in about another, I don't know, month or so, hopefully I'm going to have my back in a good enough shape, and the weather's going to be right, and I'll have a chance to go up there and get my meal straightened out and like change the oil and everything. And we might even have some sawmill videos coming up here in the next month or so, guys, around Thanksgiving maybe. If not, maybe before Christmas. Get to show y'all how to cut up some 1/4-inch laser material on the sawmill. Comments, concerns,
Yeah. You're gonna
pokes
bring
at
it.
Steve.
You're gonna bring it all the way to a 1/4 inch on the sawmill.
Mm-hmm.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
It's not a little rough.
Not if you know how to sharpen a blade.
Okay, but
Because you could, it depends on the wood. If it's something like oak or something that's gonna take a little bit of pushing, that's gonna catch a little chatter off the blade, then usually I'll do them a little thicker than that. But the cedar cuts like butter, and I'll slice that stuff 1/4 inch, and it's just, I mean, it's slick. Matter of fact, I'm pretty sure I have a piece of it over here that has not been planed. Aha! Yes, sir. See? Cedar. Look. That is, let me see how thick this is. That is 6.5 millimeters thick. Cedar there. But yeah, that's one of the woods that like I said, it's pretty forgiving. And I mean, yeah, I got a little bit of saw marks on this, but not terrible. And yeah, this piece is a little bit thin to be running through the planer, but it makes for some pretty cool little, like if you want to cut out like a little decorative something or another, or just make something to hang on the wall that's lightweight, a sign or whatever, live edge. But I've got a stack of this stuff up at the mill already cut. I need to bring it down here. Oh, here's a 1/4 inch piece. That's a 1/4 inch piece right there. See, it's got tiny. But you can get most of that out with a sander relatively easy. So, but yeah, I can't wait to get back on it a little bit now that it's got cool again. Oh, that's something that I have missed. But a lot of times too, I can take it and cut like 4x4 squares, and I'll cut them like 2 foot long, and then bring them in here. And once I get them dry, then I can always take the bandsaw and resaw them down to whatever thickness I need them. So,
yeah, that's what I do a lot. Is I'll try to get one clean edge on the piece, and I get them to be about anywhere from 6 to 12 inches in width. Then I'll get one side planed down, and from there I'll resaw it on the bandsaw and then run it through either the planer or the drum sander.
Roger. Chris is asking about camera setups for the videos. I'm not sure if he talks about the lives or the others, because I use different cameras, a lot of different cameras.
So, if you're just talking about the general YouTube videos, actually some of mine are primarily shot with cell phone footage. And actually some of the earlier ones were 100% just my iPhone. And then I grabbed a Bluetooth lapel style mic for it, so to get better audio. But then quickly after that, got a Sony ZV-1. Got a Bluetooth mic set up for it, and then some external lights. And so, yeah, I'm almost never. I haven't used the on-camera mic in a long time. You either want like a nice little shotgun mic or preferably a wireless Bluetooth mic, because audio is. If you've got bad audio, it doesn't matter how good your video is. People are going to get frustrated with it. So you definitely want some decent audio on it. But
Yeah.
But a
Well,
lot of the like when I'm recording the machines and such, a lot of that's just either a GoPro or one of my cell phone, iPhone or Android. I got two different ones that sometimes an old, well, you don't want to get too old, but sometimes older ones work great for that, to just be extra video recorders for the different angles and such.
yeah, I use the ZV-1 with the Boya Lav mic set, wireless mic. I think me and you had the same mic,
Hmm.
same camera, same charging. I mean, I think all of our stuff's the same on that. But I use the ZV-1, and of course, use it manual setup and everything. And then a lot of my videos, I actually shoot them with the computer right here. And of course, I've got this camera, and then I've got the one that's it's actually not plugged up. I've got my overhead camera over there, screen share. I've got the enclosure cam, and I have a couple of others that I can plug up and that I've got clamps and booms on and stuff. And I can even use the lav mics with the computer if I need to. But most of the time, if I'm doing a tutorial like a light burn video or whatever, I record it with my computer and the cameras I've got on it. I've got the Elgato Stream Cam with the Elgato mic, and Stream Deck with pre-programmed stuff for my buttons and all that. And so I can change, like I can add a logo to my. If I want to add my logo, I can add my logo. If I want to add my website, I can add my website. All that kind of cool stuff. But that's as Steve would say. I just got gadgets. I'm just what did you call me? A gear junkie. So I'm just a gear junkie, I guess.
Well, we
But I
both
can I
kind of
can
are.
yeah, and I will tell you, you got me last week. So and you get me again this week, but you won't get me next week. I've got me a. I ordered the Elgato swing arm for my microphone so I can get it up off my desk. Well, y'all kept
Yeah,
saying y'all couldn't hear me, so I'm going to get it to where I can have it like up here.
we're
Ooh,
gonna
it's a
have
little
the
dusty.
we're gonna have the ASMR challenge then.
Sure, but see, this is like I got the little weighted base it sits on. That's all I got. That was dusty, man. Ah, all
Yeah,
right.
that was also me this morning after moving a bunch of things around in my shop and kicking up some of that fine dust that settles in the corners behind things.
Yeah.
Yeah, that felt good this morning.
Well, I had my dust collector up there running all day today, and I cut it off right before it went live because it picks the noise that gets picked up. But I didn't have a chance to go around and blow everything off. I try to go around and blow everything off before I leave out, and then just leave the dust collector on to try to scoop some of it up.
Yep.
I didn't have a chance to do that before the live today, so I blew on that microphone and it about strangled me. And I don't know if you can see it, but the base of it is coated. Look at that. Look at the base of it. Definitely not just a studio here, guys. Definitely not.
Yeah, I had my laptop out in the shop today because I had uh, so after I went and picked up the plywood and the 2x4s and the casters and everything, because I had the napkin sketch in my head of what I wanted to do. I came home and I was like, okay, let's see. I I I had to stop and like spend 20 minutes in CAD just kind of drawing it up, so I could make
Yeah.
sure I was figuring out what needed to be cut first and what lengths and such. And then I went out and I was cutting down all those 2x4s with like a just a circular saw and other things, so I don't have my normal dust collection on these machines. And I had my laptop there with the CAD drawing, and I was like, oh, okay, now that's coded. All this other stuff is coded. You
Yeah.
get, it's when you have a shop where you can set up dedicated machines and add dust collection to them, it's great. And then when you get away from using those, you realize just how much dust does get created. Um, you become thankful for being able to set up that dust collection that way, because yeah, it's I would feel horrible day in and day out if I was, or well, I should have been wearing my mask during some of those, cleanings and other things. But
Now, ET, I still got it. It's over here. I still got it. I just Steve gets a little testy sometimes when I start hitting it too much.
uh,
You know how it is.
My mom always said life was like a box of chocolates. You never know
Yeah.
what you're going to get.
my wife just can't stand TV shows that have laugh tracks to them, and I think that's starting to bleed over to me.
Oh, come on. But no, I've got all my gadgets hooked up still. I think Steve's. You have to move yours when you move, don't you?
Um,
Have you moved it into your? I guess this is your new studio now. Have you moved it into
well,
your new studio?
no, this is my office area, and it's got my comfortable chair, and I was just kind of like, well, out of my main workshop, because I was working on that other thing. Everything's kind of just shuffled. So, but yeah, I have to kind of quasi set up for that one. Um, and then I need to get my basement shop set up again. That was one where I had my other computer set up, and I could pretty much just plug in the camera and go. Um, but I've also been
Yeah,
thinking
because
about
when it gets
moving this
colder,
setup over there.
when it gets colder, you know you're going to be stuck in that basement over there a lot more.
Yeah, well, because I'm lazy. I mean, when especially when it gets down to sub-zero, I don't want to be I got to walk like, I don't know, 60, 80 feet between the house and the shop. It's
Yeah, that's a
cold.
lot.
It's
That's a
cold.
lot. Yeah.
You,
What's up, Jody? Well, you can always watch the replay. It's been kind of slow tonight. We haven't really had a whole lot of comedic value. Uh, I guess everybody's just trying to behave tonight. That I think me and Steve both are tired. Steve's been working in his shop. And he's having a little bit of back hang ups this tonight, and I had a long weekend at May's and a long day in the shop today. So, but yeah, it's I had to move my remote. It's 72 in the shack right now because I have found out my mini split works just as well as a heater as it did as an air conditioner.
I mean, it helps that it's like what, still 60 degrees down there.
Echo, what's the temperature outside?
Right now, it's 54 degrees Fahrenheit.
That was
Tonight,
close.
expect a low of 53 degrees.
See, it's in the 50s. Hey, that's cool, man. That's cool.
It's 41 here right now, and it was.
Good night,
it-
Jim. Yeah, but
it
you're
was-
in South. You're in South Canada.
It was mid 50s, low, maybe got up to 60, and it was sunny, and I was in a t-shirt and feeling good about it. Yeah.
Yeah.
I was just waiting until
Well-
January, and it gets like to like mid 30s where it's slightly melting or something. I'll be
Yeah.
breaking out the t-shirt then too.
No, on the S1 you don't have to put anything under it. It's got metal underneath the honeycomb. So the metal underneath there just stops the laser. So, and I do have my riser in. I haven't done a video with it since I got the riser and got it installed. I've been trying to play catch up, but I have now got the riser on the S1. So I've got an order of 10 cutting boards, like custom cutting boards that I've got to make. And when I do those, the plan is to use the S1 to do the engraving on them because I've got some. I was inventorying my wood today to see what I've got. I've got some oak that's about 1 inch thick that I'm probably going to use for these charcuterie boards. And so now that I've got the riser, I can do them on the S1. So I think that's going to be what I'm going to wind up doing is take and engrave them with it. Well, I cleaned it, but now by cleaning, I mean I just cleaned up like a little bit of the pieces of wood and stuff that was laying everywhere.
Ran
Now
the
I
leaf
did
blower.
change. I did change my lighting a little bit. I've got those lights in the middle, and so I've got it now to where I can turn those off and on. Echo, turn on the middle lights.
Okay.
See, it's a little brighter when those lights are on back there. Echo, turn off the middle lights.
Okay.
So I got those separated now.
I think your camera was mostly compensating for it because you got a little blip each time, but it looks the same.
Oh yeah, well it's probably the camera
Yeah.
doing it, but yeah, I've got that, and I did my mirror there, put it up since I got it built. I was gonna put it on the front of the shack, but I'm like it'll just be sitting there blinking, and nobody will see it all day. So, uh, I put the white one that was over there, the white and black painted one. I put it out on the front of the building, and I put that one over there, right there. But yeah. Hopefully, I will get a chance to actually come in here and like get up the dust with the shop vac, but it ain't looking like it right now. Stove covers are been wide open in stove cover production, and when I do that, that pine just generates a lot of real fine dust that gets all over everything. So, but anyway, I think that's about it, Steve. That's 2 hours. Unless you've got something else you want to cut on, touch on.
No, I think we covered most everything this week. Like I said, got a couple of new machines in the shop to hopefully get out and start working with on some other things, and so hopefully those go well. People appreciate them because I know it's the holiday season, and some people are looking to buy their first machine or maybe get their second one and want some information on some of these things that are out there now. So I know you and I are trying to get some of that information out there, but also stick on some of the fun projects that everybody can enjoy too. So
ET, these are the ones that I just got through doing. You will see this occasionally on them, but if you take it, use some dishwashing liquid, wash it, it'll level out. That's just the difference in the burn pattern. And I did these with the algo laser before it died on me. But you're gonna get these darker strips of bamboo. You'll get that. Hang on, I got some glass cleaner. I'll show you. Once it gets wet, it'll level out. I just sprayed glass cleaner on that. That's all I did. But what I do is I take them in the house and I wash them with dope soap, dishwashing soap, and that's what they end up looking like. So don't freak out when you get them off of there and they have that, because literally, I'll let you watch it right before your very eyes. All right, so you got that, and it looks like, oh my gosh, but when it gets wet, it levels it out a lot, so it doesn't have that white look. But you're gonna have some differentiation with bamboo. That's just the nature of grass, because it's technically not wood. But you'll have this. It's basically the same thing as with pine. You've got like a dark grain and a light grain, and you're going to have the variations. Bamboo, you just have wider sloughs of material. But that's running air assist and defocusing a little bit helps with that, but you're going to have some of it regardless. Oh, I gotta take those inside to get washed, especially now that I put glass cleaner on them. But anyway, everybody have a good one. Chris, Sano may over in Australia. I don't think he's never bought me anything like that. Thad, I'm not real sure. I don't know if I accidentally corrupted the firmware by holding the power button down too long or what, but I have ran the stew out of it. So if it did die, it's probably my fault. But it was running really, really well, and now it ain't. So I'm going to get with them and see if I can figure out what's going on with it. But that's all I got, guys. Anybody? Comments? Concerns? Steve, you want to sign off while I put my stuff back? My OCD's bothering me.
Yeah, well, thanks again everyone for another fun week. If you haven't, check out the laser graving community on Facebook. We have a good group there. It's linked down in my description. You can get to that there. Otherwise, I know Clack flashed it up earlier. And, always hit those like buttons and throw some comments on these videos. They help it out as well. So appreciate everyone hanging out live and then helping support our fun endeavors here. So we'll be back at it next week and probably have some fun stuff to talk about. A couple new machines that we're both going to be testing this week, and happy to maybe we'll be sharing some early Black Friday sales as well. Try not to hit everybody too hard with the salesy links, but when I find things that are worthwhile and some goodies to have in the shop or really good deals on lasers and such, I try to share those out at least through Facebook and maybe some YouTube posts as well. So anyway, with all that being said, thanks again, and we will see you next week.
Yeah, Eddie, these are Liberty overalls. I think I actually have them in my Amazon store, in my Amazon shop, the Clack Shack store. But yeah, that in the wintertime I like wearing them. I don't wear them in the summer because I deal with bees a lot in the summertime, and they're not good for beekeeping. But yeah, I'm looking for a pair of them in orange. If anybody sees any in orange, let me know because that's gonna be my new contrast color. But anyway, guys, y'all have a good night and be safe. See you next week, if not before. Because if I get caught up, maybe I get some more content out this week. But later.